Well, hello there, you beautiful people. My name is Willow, and welcome back to Supreme Commander Forged Alliance Forever for a Forged Alliance Forever cast. Today, we're on Fields of Isis, and I would like to take a moment before we introduce our players to say thank you to my patron, Timothy Calderwood. He is subscribed at the $10 a month tier, which means his name gets said in every video. Now on with it, our team 1 is over here in the left, and we're going to start by introducing the player to the south. We have Highlander TX going first land, and he is a brown Seraphim. To his north, we have a purple Seraphim by the name of Reclaim Noob, and he is going first land as well. Let's head over to the east, where we have team 2. We have a player by the name of Lazy Avina, and he is an orange UEF, and he has gone first land. And his ally, the only player to go first air, is a white UEF by the name of D Good. And this is how we're going to be getting on with this game. Fields of Isis, a map that most people have played. It's a pretty balanced and fun map. I enjoy it quite a bit. You have a lot of reclaim here at the little passes in the middle of the map. Most players will send their comm out relatively early to go grab that. Sometimes you have a cheesy strategy where you don't, but it looks like all of the players currently are moving their comms that way, except for D-Good, who just started moving his comm that way. Lazy Avina is helping his Hydro be built with the comm. Getting that built very early is always advantageous. You don't have to build quite as many T1 power gens to keep yourself afloat. In fact, he's built 0. He's running just off that hydrocarbon. Everybody else in the game did build some power generators. And we have an early air factory, so we do need to keep an eye out. We might be seeing some bomber play once this hydrocarbon finishes. I believe with a hydrocarbon and the 2 power, you can make a bomber pretty soundly. Maybe not, it might cause you to stall, but still. And as the players expand, we can see the first player to get to any of the mass is looking to be Highlander TX. He's made the most aggressive build as far as getting his comm to that mass first. I believe all he built was maybe a couple of mexes and P-gens, and started walking his comm after that factory. And then we're going to be seeing Reclaim Noob and D-Good brawl it out in this top kind of ravine, this valley. And then in this valley, we're going to see Lazy Avina and Highlander TX battle it out. The quality of this game is 75%, which is generally not super well balanced, but I assure you this game has its twists and turns and is very fun and enjoyable. We're going to go ahead and swap over to the Reclaim tab for now. We can also, really quick look here, we can see that Highlander is at the lead. I don't know if that's including the Reclaim. No, that is not. He has the most mexes claimed on the map. Currently, everybody still only has T1 mexes, though. And as we can see, Highlander is out here reclaiming these Harbingers and Blazes. There are Titans and Pillars behind this, which can also be reclaimed, but generally you want to get the Harbingers first. They're worth the most. And we can hear some fighting start to kick off. I can't quite tell where most of the fire is coming from, but we do have a little bit of comm-on-comm action down here, as well as up here we have comm-on-comm action. D-Good being very aggressive, moving his comm out beyond the center point, past his enemy, to grab as much reclaim as he humanly can. And as we swap over to the Reclaim tab, we can start seeing who's coming out ahead. Highlander and Lazy Avina are in the lead. They both are approaching 2k, 1.5k for Lazy Avina, and Highlander is sitting at 1.8k. And then up in the top we have D-Good at 1.5k. Behind everybody is Reclaim Noob. Surprisingly for his name, he is not reclaiming, but maybe his name is a indication of that he is a noob at right-clicking on Rex. Either way, he has definitely not got reclaim on the mind. D-Good is falling quite low on health. He's down to 7,000 versus his opponent's 9,000. He has less units here, but I don't think this is kill range unless Reclaim Noob just starts going ham with his comm on the opponent's comm. D-Good is going to retreat to the north. In the south, we have a little bit more spam action going on, and both players taking about the same amount of health off each other's comms. The UEF comm, of course, having the most base health at 1,200, whereas the Seraphim is a close second at 11,500. Not a huge difference. They both have 10 seconds of regeneration per second, so getting veterancy is going to be very important. D-Good close to his next point of veterancy, as we have a little bit of a engagement popping off down here. Some Zooies firing on this spam and the comm of Lazy Avena. Most of the reclaim has been claimed over here. The only big wreck left is this pillar back here in the back. And as we continue to look at reclaim, we can see as we finish off the reclaim phase, Highlander is in the lead at 2,600. D-Good very low on health, but he has a bomber out and he has constant units flowing in. So we have 2.3k and 2.5k for Lazy Avena and D-Good respectively, 1.6k and 2.7k for Highlander and Reclaim Noob respectively. Let's go ahead and swap ourselves back to the mass income and see how that's affected things. We can see that Team 2 has seemingly gained the lead in mass generation, sitting somewhere around 55 and 31, where their opponents are at 27 and 36. Sorry about the cough. It's a lingering bastard. It just will not go away. D-Good and Reclaim Noob both on relatively low health. D-Good slightly further below on health than his opponent, but he has gotten the rank of veterancy and is regenerating health at a faster clip than his opponent. Reclaim Noob is now having to retreat as the reinforcements for D-Good show up as he drops to 2,400 health, and more bombers fly in to drop their very hot payload on top of Reclaim Noob. That fire, you don't want to stand in it. With the T1 bombers of UEF and T2 bombers of UEF, that fire will give you hell. You never want to be getting hit by a whole bunch of geniuses and just standing in it. It's a lot of DPS. And as we take a moment to step back, we can see T2 going onto the comms of Highlander and Lazy Avena. And we can see T2 mexes starting to sprout out in multiple bases. It does look like Lazy Avena's gone the most eco-horish route, while not quite giving up on land spam. He has the least land factories, I believe. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh wait, no, his ally only has 4. 4 for Reclaim Noob and 5 for Highlander TX, so never mind, the number of factories is about the same. Gun damage and range on the way for D-Good, trying to be aggressive with that comm as we have seen. He's had it kind of hanging out there in the wind, letting it absorb the breeze for a large majority of this match so far. We do have a T2 PD going down for Highlander TX. He's going to try and cut off any units over here at the pass, stop them from causing issues for him later on. I don't believe Reclaim Noob has opted for any upgrades on that comm of his. Let's just double check. We do not have a single upgrade for him, so he is the only player not opting to get a upgrade on his comm. But maybe he's spent some more mass on his economy. When we look at the economies just for a second, it does look like Lazy Avena's in the lead. D-Good falling behind slightly from the looks of it, or maybe he's power stalling. He is power stalling very heavily. I don't think he can quite afford this bomber production he's going for. 68 power a second is never good. Oh, that's an interceptor. Still not a good feeling. And things have seemingly calmed down for the moment. We have fire bases going up in the bottom, and we have units and upgrades happening in the top. Damage and range is complete. And did that pull him out of his power stall? It did. And we can see that as far as the economies go, Lazy Avena is in the lead, but not by a significant margin. Total mass overall, Team 2 is ahead with 36,000 versus 33,000, which is a sizable lead of 4,000 mass accrued this game over their opponents at just the 10-minute mark, or just under the 10-minute mark. A stat we don't often look at, but I'm going to look at here. This is the kill-loss ratio. So this is based off of how many kills to losses in mass value. We can see Lazy Avena also leading the pack here with 2.3. So that means every for every massive point of mass he spends, he's destroyed 2.3 points of mass, which is very, very important and useful. The kill to build ratio is much more different and complicated, so I don't use it. Overall army score, we can see that D-Good is falling behind. He does not have quite the same number of units or just anything in general as his opponents. We can see the rating, and the reason that this is 75% quality, it is because it's a 1300, two 1300s, one for each team, and then a 1500, and Lazy Avena, the highest ranked player, at 1800 in this match. Reclaim Noob has gotten T2 on the comm, I believe. Let's just double check. Yes, T2 is done. As his opponent starts walking forward, that flaming UEF comm is over here like, you wanna go? I will show you my cannon. And bitches love cannons. That T2 upgrade's not going to be too terribly useful other than the extra health it's given his bringing him slightly over the max health threshold of a gun damage and range upgrade for the UEF. But he does seemingly have a comparable amount of spam, so if he can fall back and possibly get his own gun upgrade using that T2 as a booster, he could very well do much worse than to push on his opponent. We do have a T2 land HQ out from Reclaim Noob, so he is going to start getting Ilshevas and possibly other things. It does look like he's producing flak right now, but there is an Ilsheva on the way. We don't have T2 out for Highlander just yet, and we do have T2 out for Lazy Avena. As we can see, he managed to get the T2 PD down, so it's warding off his opponent as he's getting the gun speed and range upgrade. He has lost 2 mexes up here, which is not very nice. It's always painful to lose even T1 mexes. It just makes you that little bit less efficient on your economy. Unless you're talking about super late game where you have 30 Raz SCUs and you don't really care about your mass points anymore because your mass is already quite overwhelming. Let us go ahead and check in on Eco once more. 31 in a power stall for D-Good. He seemingly has forgotten that power generators are something you should build. I guess I should say he or she. I've noticed in a few casts recently I've been saying he a lot, and maybe I should switch to they, because there's been multiple times where I've gotten messages saying, hey, this person is a female. Which, good on you. Good on you. Everybody should be playing FAF. It should be mandatory. It should be something that once you're old enough to type on a keyboard, you should have to play this game for at least 3,000 games. That's the perfect world I want to live in. A world where everybody is worried about efficiency and adjacency. And we have a T2 power gen coming online for Lazy Avena. Maybe that'll help his ally stop stalling quite so hard, as he continues to stall and does not have any fucks to give about it. He's been stalling for half the game, and he'll probably be stalling for the next half of the game. It's not a horrible stall, only negative 22, but still not very well balanced. We can see Reclaim Noob over here trying to push forward with that gun comm, but running into a T1 PD, which is never good. He does overcharge it, bringing it down to 500 health, doing 800 damage with an overcharge. A second overcharge kills it off. And now Reclaim Noob is free to walk forward. The comms at comparable health, only about 500 health between them. Very aggressive play out. We can see Lazy Avena up here building buzz kills for his ally. Very kind of him. And we have some spam moving up to try and assist the comm of D-Good, who is pushing forward into his opponent's spam. I don't quite understand this play at the moment. It doesn't seem like he needs to be pushing forward into this. He has a tech disadvantage. I'm sure he can see the Ilshivas on his screen. Yes, he can. This is a very precarious situation. He's down to 500, 300, 200, 100, and he is dead, killing off most of the spam in his wake and producing quite the large fireball of absolute death. Reclaim Noob down to 5,000 health, but raising rapidly with 32 health a second. 2 vet on that comm and 27 kills. This T1 spam is no threat to him. These Lobos may as well just turn around and die where they are. We have a drop coming out from Highlander TX. He's going to be dropping a full T1 transport worth of Zooies onto the base of that formerly belonged to D-Good. He's going to try and prevent Lazy Avena from getting an expansion out. But there are 2 interceptors on the way. I don't know if they know exactly about this. There is a drop. They did ping it. But the drop has already dropped off one of its Zooies. The interceptors are chasing down the drop. I don't quite know why he didn't drop all of the Zooies. He's very much so risking losing everything. There are T1 PD in the back of the base now. I mean, of course, T1 artillery can very well deal with that, but at the same time, this seems like a much riskier play than just throwing the Zooies down over here. I guess there are units being averted, but still, this would be much more annoying to deal with. We do have engineers coming out, possibly on a reclaim attempt, attempting to reclaim this Zooie spam. I don't quite know how well that's going to work, but then again, the Zooies are focusing on mexes and other things, so maybe it will. And the Zooies are dying at a rapid rate. The civilians have taken up arms against their oppressors, and they are going to murder everything in their wake. A mongoose comes by to ensure the death of this Zooie family. The Zooie family, a very vile and wretched house, hailing from the deep depths of what was formerly known as Seraphim Earth. Alright. So they managed to get 1 T2 mechs and some micro out of their opponents. The engineers surprisingly effective with their full-on assault, using their reclaim cannons to dismount or disassemble their opponents before them. We do have a Zooie push coming from the front now. Highlander is even bringing his comm forward. There is a line of T2 PD, but I'm not quite sure how effective this will be. It does seem like the walls are going to cause quite an issue, but at the same time, you of course have more and more units pouring in. It's quite the little kill box set up for these Zooies and Thoms. Unfortunately, they are not going to live to see another day, but maybe the comm of of Highlander can do something. He attempts to build a shield, but that's shut down immediately. He has nano regen on that comm. 80 health a second is quite the little bit of health that's going to allow him to just tank T2 shots for a long time. With 15,500 health, he has quite the barrier against death at the moment, able to withstand a surprising amount of punishment. There's still 5, 6 T2 PD here firing on that comm. Not a very fun situation, but he can slowly whittle it down. Everyone he kills lowers his chance of death by just that little bit. And we can see Lazy Avena now managing to expand up here to the top right. He's building T2 mexes right off the bat on the wrecks of his opponent's T2 mexes. Let's go ahead and check really quick on the Reclaim tab just to see how this is affecting Reclaim. 9.9 thousand Reclaim, almost 10,000 Reclaim, about to pass that 5-digit mark with Reclaim, and he just did for Lazy Avena. 6.2k for Highlander TX and 5.7k for Reclaim Noob, so the Reclaim is actually slightly in favor of Team 2, or of Team 1. Team 2 slightly behind, but 183 mass a second, that is quite overwhelming. I'm pretty sure his mass generation per second is still higher than Team 1's at 183. Their opponents seemingly hovering around 170 to 175, meaning that he is still ahead economically, but you have to take into account he has to micro the entire map, or she. I'm pretty sure Avena's a he, though. I've played with them a few times. Could be wrong, though. Reclaim Noob out here reclaiming and shooting away at his opponents. He also has the nano regen and 3 points of veterancy, meaning he has 98 health every single second flying onto that comm, making him a formidable force. If he could possibly kill off all of this spam, get a foothold over here, he could start pushing down into this forward operating area for Lazy Avena, maybe cut him off from his main base, force him to fight down here with his wall of T2 PD. He surprisingly has very little defense as far as shielding. He does have a shield queued up, but this is a very precarious situation. I would feel that Nathas would be on the menu. Do we have T2 air out of anybody? We do not. This would definitely be the time where I would think Nathas would be very useful for trying to snipe off that comm. You snipe it off, you win. As we crest the 20-minute mark, we can see Lazy Avena cresting 200 mass a second. Very, very powerful economy behind him. The short stacker of the game currently is Reclaim Noob, sitting at 79, still yet to crest 100 mass a second. He is indeed building T3 units along with his ally, both Seraphim players, currently at T3 on the land tech, whereas the opponent is still at T2. I also want to point out this was a Seraphim versus UEF mirror matchup on both sides. 2 UEF and 2 Seraphim walk into a bar. Apparently, only 1 UEF and 2 Seraphim walk out. But there's plenty of time for that joke to change. Eventually, there's only really 3 possibilities. It's either 2 Seraphim walk out of the bar alone, or 1 UEF and 1 Seraphim walks out of the bar alone, or 1 UEF and no Seraphim walk out of the bar alone, or 1 Seraphim walks out of the bar alone. I think that's the only few situations that can happen in this weird hypothetical that I've placed out for you to gnaw your teeth on or whatever. Reclaim Noob assaulting this position. He does have T3 units, I believe. Or maybe he doesn't. There's some T3 shields coming out for him. He still has Ilshivas, which I would say are better than Mongeese. Mongeese, of course, have range, but Ilshivas, once they get in range, just absolutely annihilate any other T2 unit. They are the top dogs of T2. You have sniper bots, Usha Oz on the way out. Very dangerous. Very underutilized in the lower levels. And even in the higher levels, you don't necessarily see sniper bot spam, but they can be extremely effective with their massive range. Range to rival that of a mobile missile launcher. but in a more direct format with less chance to miss. These mongoose are out here throwing up impressive amounts of Gatling fire, but even though that Ilsheva just tanked like 15 Gatling guns worth of damage, it's still standing. The real damage from the mongoose is the rockets that fly out of their shoulders. Very akin, the mongoose, to a mech warrior mech. It looks much like one, doesn't it? If you play Mech Warrior, let me know. I play Mech Warrior online. I also play Battletech. Might do a playthrough of Battletech at some point, once I learn how to not suck at the game. Mongoose pushing onto the comm of Reclaim Noob. He's about to fall below 20,000 health. This is dire straits for a Seraphim comm, considering they're used to being above 20,000 when they get 5 vet and double and T3 and double nano. They can have quite a little chunk of health on the comm. I think they can get up to almost 60,000. An experimental in and of itself. At 5 vet, he is currently maxed out though at 110 health regen a second, regenerating the DPS of a T1 PD if I remember correctly. In fact, let's just double check that. T1 PD, what is your DPS? 150. He's almost out healing the DPS of a T1 PD, and he is out healing the DPS of... Oh no, he's not! Wow, that is very interesting. PD, surprisingly effective on the DPS route. A lot of reclaim going into the coffers of Reclaim Noob now. We can see 13,000. He is on the same level as Lazy Avena. And the economies are starting to shore up, starting to even out. It does look like Team 1 has finally secured an advantage, which means that they need to be very careful with their comms. I do not like the positioning of Reclaim Noob's comm. He does have 23,000 health. He is exceptionally tanky, but he is also very vulnerable being out here on the front. Snipes do exist, and they do happen. And now that we have T3 tech on the field and many a Titan pouring out of this factory, this could be a dangerous situation. Titans probably will not kill off the comm of Reclaim Noob without overwhelming numbers, but if Percival start coming onto the field, it's a lot of burst damage and something that the health tank that is Reclaim Noob right now would not deal with very well. Sniper bots down here killing off all of the T2 defenses as they outrange them. Very useful strategy. We have some sniper bots and a T3 shield generator that's 10,000 more health on the comm as long as it stays protecting the comm. It's 10,000 health that also regenerates at 133 health a second. Is quite the formidable force. We will have to see how that all goes. Down here we do have Highlander TX officially starting to break his way out of this wall, this contain that was placed on him very early into the match, reclaiming all of these T1 walls with his comm, and now he's going to start pushing forward. You do, of course, have that very nice strategy of if you have T3 mobile artillery, you can kind of just park it right here and just start wailing on mass points. And it looks like Lazy Avena is currently power stalling. He is. That's quite a hefty power stall as he's trying to get his T3 power online. It's currently at 92%. He needs to be very careful. And hopefully everything goes well. There's an absolute wall of T1 PD over here. Of course, not very threatening to the likes of Zooies and sniper bots, but at the same time, it is going to slow down his opponent a little bit. We have Titans coming out, and sniper bots are good against Titans if the Titans don't get close, but if the Titans get close, and it does look like they may be able to with these overwhelming numbers, they might be able to start killing off some of these sniper bots and producing issues for Highlander TX. The Zooies dying in masses. This is a mass Zooie grave. You can see the reclaim numbers popping up and going away very quickly as Zooies destroy the wrecks of their brethrens. Their brethren. And we can see the Calm of Highlander is coming out here, going to attempt to possibly overcharge some of this, but he is not immortal. He is not quite the same level of tankiness as his ally up here, so he does need to be careful. These sniper bots are going to provide a nice little screen of cover, and we do have the T3 mobile artillery down here starting to produce issues as we have Percival's out on the field very early on here. We have T3 mobile artillery over here as well, and the screen of sniper bots that Highlander once had are gone, and he's absorbing Mongoose and Percival fire at an alarming rate. He does overcharge that Percival, and the Titans all appear to have died. He has reinforcements coming in, and since these are just Mongoose, he's not in too much threat. Probably just gonna stand here and farm some veterancy, as now he's at 4,000 5 veterancy now, not 4,000, but 5 veterancy. Very chunky comms, 110 mass or 110 health a second on both of these. They're both hard targets to kill, but they are not immortal, and they're both very far forward, very precarious situations that I don't believe either of them has to put themselves in. I would very much so like to see one of these players move their comm back, or both, and just start fielding a larger T3 army. As we look at the air game, we can see that T2 has been achieved by Highlander, and I don't believe there's any other air teching up going on. We do have a Fat Boy on the way for Lazy Avena. He's getting fired at by some T3 mobile artillery, which just got destroyed down here by Percival's. And the Percival spam is becoming very real. How many Percivals is Lazy Avena currently at? He's at 7 Percivals, and that number will continue to rise. It's going to become a very big issue if they do not deal with it very soon. They need to start getting out Othams. Othams are the answer here. Sniper bots and artillery can take you a long way, but when it comes down to that head-on fight, you need Othams. Or I guess if you're really, really wanting to be expensive, you can always go for the Seraphim SACUs. They can deal with Percivals quite well, especially if you get the overcharge preset going on. We have a lot of power being built here and seemingly a grid. I wonder if he's going to start making an air grid for T3 Air. We'll have to keep an eye on that. The Fat Boy is currently sitting around 60%, about to be there. And we have Reclaim Noob going up against a lot of Percivals. This is going to be quite a little bit of damage he's going to be absorbing. Falling down to 7,000, 6,000, 5,000, 4,000, 3,000, 2,000, 1,000. Oh, and he is dead! He's died to the Percivals. He killed off a few of them, but he was already full of veterancy. He couldn't get any veterancy off that. I don't understand why he wanted his comm there. And apparently something stopped moving. He's very upset about this situation. And with that, their economic lead has fallen to the wayside. Lazy Avena has finished his Fat Boy. This is a very rough turn of events for Team 1. They're going to have to try very hard. It's now a 1v1 between Highlander TX and Lazy Avena. It is by no means done, but it is a very dire situation. The tables have turned. Lazy Avena was starting to get hemmed into his base, having many troubles just keeping the enemy from throwing artillery shells over the walls. But he managed to get up T3 in time and start spamming Percivals, get the economy up to make that happen. And it's paid off for him in droves, and now he has a Fat Boy and many Percivals on the way to his opponent. We can see 10 Percivals, 8 Percies, or 8 Titans, and 10 Mongoose, all marching their way towards the opponent. And Lazy Avena is pretty well dug into his bases. We do have T3 Air. That is the saving grace for Highlander right now. He can attempt to produce some strat bombers. Once he gets a scout of the enemy's base, he can definitely tell that he is ahead in the air game and does not need ASF for pretty much any reason. And we can see these units starting to come down here. And we do have a T3 advanced combatant, so that means he does have overcharge. Probably wants to turn on automatic overcharge as he starts to deal with these titans that are trying to cut off the pass over here, trying to stop Highlander from doing what he has done in claiming his allies' carcass of a base. This SACU is going to do quite well at getting kills onto these Mongoose and Titans. I don't know how well it's going to do against the Percivals alone, but with overcharge, anything is possible. I would like to see more of these coming out. We do have another one on the way. It's only assisted by one engineer, though. We have an anti-nuke on the way. Do we have anti-nuke coming for the other player? We do not. We don't even have a nuke. But we do have a Novac Center just starting, and that is going up relatively quickly. That's going to be a problem. You're going to have to now shield all of your mass points and all of your power, and that is very intensive and costly to do. This SACU with the combatant preset is starting to kill off Percivals, but unless it gets a rank of veterancy, I do not see it living very long here. We do have some sniper bots throwing the odd shot in, and a mass extractor looking like it was a T3 mass extractor possibly going down over here on the front as this fat boy rolls into range. This is a very precarious situation, very deadly situation for Highlander. This fat boy can cause massive damage if left unattended, but we do have strat bombers out. That's a lot of interceptors, but ASF are coming in to kill off the interceptors as the strat bomber turns around for another pass on this fat boy who just now got his shields back up to full, but he's power stalling, and the fat boy tanks a strat bomber to the absolute top of its head. That is a very painful thing to go through. And now we have T2 artillery being thrown out at an alarming rate, and an overcharge out from this SACU has managed to kill off that fat boy. That's a chunk of reclaim, 7,000 to be exact, for him to reclaim right on his doorstep. That may help him ricochet. May help him slingshot himself into a favorable economic situation. That is a mass gift if ever I have saw one. Don't get me wrong, I think it was the right play to push with the fat boy, but that was a mass gift. He is currently still ahead on economy, but not by a massive margin. That Novac Center currently cresting 80% on completion. Once it completes, it can come over here and just start killing off all of these T2 mexes that have been thrown up by his opponent and start causing him massive issue. We have to see where Highlander wants to go with this. There has to be some sort of strategy he has in mind. We are seeing not necessarily game enders, but the kind of indirect fire solutions coming up for Lazy Avena. And usually once one player achieves that indirect fire, that damage potential without threat of loss, I don't know why I said loss that way, you kind of have to escalate and join them on that level. With the Novac Center completing and the satellite being launched, we're launching into a new era of indirect fighting. And there's that satellite already being given orders to, as quickly as possible, traverse to the other side of the map. I wonder, did they change the speed the satellite moves at? Because it feels much faster. In my recent games, at least. This is only a 10 by 10 map, so maybe that's just the map, but it does seem like it's faster even on the bigger maps. I know they changed something with the damage. I know it has, I think, less DPS, but a longer and more powerful burst. A chunky burst of damage. And there we go. We're losing T2 mexes. We're losing economy. Those have certainly not paid themselves off by this point. So that's just straight up lost economy. But maybe they have. I don't know. they are being built on top of wrecks, and I'm pretty sure those are T3 wrecks, so maybe you're getting more reclaim out of it than you're losing from just losing it before it pays itself off, but at the same time, relatively painful. As this is being reclaimed, we can go ahead and check on the total reclaim numbers once again, and we have 37,000 for Highlander with this attack and all of this reclaim showing up for him. How is he handling this extra reclaim? He is unable to spend it. He seems to be very barely not floating mass. Whereas Lazy Avena is fully floating mass. He is not spending all of his mass in any way, shape, or form. He has now started a nuke eliminator in his base, so he does have an anti-nuke on the way. And he has queued up a Duke T3 artillery installation that could be very dangerous. We have the satellite over here harassing, and we do have a, how do you say the name of this thing? I used to know. A Hovathom. A Hovathom T3 artillery installation queued up for Highlander. It's going to start momentarily slower than the Duke, but that does not mean it's going to finish slower, as the Duke does not seem to be going up particularly fast. He has a lot more build power in the area, so he may finish this faster, as all these T3 engineers are definitely going to be able to build faster as long as he has the mass. And currently, with all of the reclaim, I'm pretty sure he has quite the store of mass to throw in it. 10,000 mass almost to throw at that. And we have a power stall out from Lazy Avena, and a Yathoda has been finished over here for Highlander. He does have experimentals up. Let's see if he can manage to get anything done with it. I don't think a forward assault would work unless you had a lot of time to batter down the defenses. That power stall is still an ever-present issue currently, as he's getting RAS on the comm to try and fix it. And another T3 power is being produced. But all the while that is happening, we can see that this artillery is going up at an alarming clip. It's 20% done. Of course, with him being the UEF player that he is and building a Novax, Lazy Avena has full knowledge of this and is very aware that there is going to be a T3 artillery firing on him very soon, which I'm assuming is going to mean yes, just this exactly, more shields going up pretty much everywhere. Shields around the T3 power is the most important thing he can have at the moment. If he loses this power, he loses the game. If this chain reacts and kills off more than 2 of these, I'm pretty sure that Lazy Avena does not have the capabilities to get back into this game. It would be an overwhelming situation. The Yathoda is currently moving forward, but there are a lot of Percivals to meet it. And that's a very dangerous situation for a Yathoda to be in. There are sniper bots behind it, but I'm not entirely sure how well this is going to go for him. We can see Percival's firing into him, down to 40,000 health and dropping quickly. We saw just how much health it can shave off very quickly earlier on whenever we were watching them kill off the comm of Reclaim Noob. And down goes the Yathoda. Maybe the Ion Storm will kill off enough Percivals to allow this spam to get in here and start causing issues. We have a massive spam of T2 artillery being spammed right here, which is a very interesting option. We have Ravagers on the front. You might want to build another Yathoda to try and make sure that this stays safe. He's building a lot of T2PD. He's trying to get some indirect fire even closer to his opponent. You set up all of these T2 artillery, you can just start wailing on your opponent's base. But then again, this area is not covered by shields yet, so you're going to need those shields very soon. Otherwise, the Novax Center will kill off all of your engineers, and you will be having a very, very sad time. As we check back in over here, he has reclaimed the T2 power generator that was over here, and he is probably going to replace it with a T3 power generator. Let's check on the progress of this artillery piece. It is going up much slower now, as he's exhausted his mass reserves up to 60% versus the Duke, which is currently at 53%. They may go on at around the same time, but with the Novax Center, I don't know quite who wins that artillery fight. This Novak's providing a nice amount of value, 30 kills and 27.3 thousand mass worth of units destroyed is no small feat. Of course, to get veterancy it needs quite a little bit. And veterancy doesn't really affect this thing in the way it affects most things. I don't know if it increases the damage, but it definitely doesn't help the fact that it gives the Novak's satellite more health, but not the center. The center still has no way of restoring its own damage other than just simple repair repair orders. And now we have even more engineers coming out here to build up this area once again, and despite this, there are still no shields. He knows about the Novak Center, but he is not building the shields required, so he's going to lose these two T3 engineers and all of these mass points once again. T3 engineers are down, mass points going down. It's very painful to watch, and I just realized we've been on Reclaim for a very long time. I apologize about that. I just had a comment about not staying on the Reclaim for a extended period of time, but yeah, you can look at the economies and they are not panning out very well. Almost 400 mass a second, nearing 500 mass a second for Lazy Avena versus his opponent sitting at a just under 200 mass a second. This is not a very good situation to be in. These mass extractors being sniped off by the Novaks is just slowly constricting him out of the game. This artillery piece is going to be finishing up relatively soon though, and that's his saving grace. 91% on that, but the Duke is already finished. Of course, Seraphim do have the better shields, and this does seem to have quite a few shields online over it, or maybe just the one, but still, that Duke is going to start firing any moment now, and we can see its awe-inspiring glory as it just lobs shells across the map, going directly for that T3 artillery installation. The Novak's also assisting. The shield is going to be going down very soon. Another shield queued up and on the way. It's a T3 shield. It's going to take a while to complete, even with all of this build power around it. Is the shield going to go down? This shield's the only thing protecting him, and he just lost another shield. Secondary shield going up momentarily. Halfway down on this shield. He's going to have to continue to build shields, but luckily that wreck wasn't destroyed, so he's going to get another T3 shield up very quickly. I'm not quite sure if the Duke's going to be able to fire through this. Shield's going up on the opposite side as well as the Havatham artillery piece starts firing upon the Duke. And we have shields going down. If it hits this power generator, you're in very much so trouble. Oh, but another shield flicks on just in time. And it looks like both players have gotten up enough shielding to deal with their opponent's artillery and indirect fire against their own indirect fire, but there are still places on the map where there is not shield coverage, so we do have to keep an eye out on that. As we have a nuke launcher on the way. Well, it was on the way. It seemingly stopped as they were trying to build up shields. We also have Kennels out now. That very mobile, very expendable build power. It's always nice to have Kennels. And all of the shields are down. Is he power stalling? Oh my lord, that shield flicked on at the perfect time. I don't know if Lazy Avena is flicking off of the shields individually himself or not, or if that was just a power stall of some sort, as he was building a T3 power generator very quickly over here. Could have been a power stall, and he is assisting the shield with a lot of T1 engineers. A very dangerous situation he finds himself in. Going ahead and checking in on the other side, it does seem that this area is complete. Oh, never mind, not completely under control. Shields still needing to go up to keep this Havatham artillery installation safe. As we have more artillery shells landing. shields constantly being flicked on and off and on and off. It does look like the T3 HQ was destroyed. Was that destroyed, or did he control K that? That was the T3 HQ. I am not blind, am I? Let's check. Those are T3 factories. Where are the HQs? Oh, Jesus. Why? You have to keep building things. No, he has a T3 HQ somewhere. Where's... Oh, it's right here. That was just a secondary structure. Ah, geez. Giving me heart attacks. Giving up T3 tech for no reason. That's silly. Don't do that. Alright. You can see that the Hovatham is trying desperately to break through the shields over here, but I think that the power and shield situation is officially settled, and there's not going to be much of an issue as far as that's concerned. We do have artillery shells landing and killing off a few things over here in these unshielded bits. Some kennels going down. Very unfortunate. Those kennels... And they're not super expensive, but they are an investment you don't really like to lose. And that nuke has seemingly been abandoned. They've abandoned the idea of building the nuke in favor of building shields, which I cannot blame. Seemingly a good strategy. A lot of shields built very close to this Hovatham. I think he might have enough shields at this point. He needs to probably start getting shields up around the other parts of his base, but he's also going to need more power, if I would assume. I don't think he's going to be doing too well on his power. No, his power generation is completely fine. These SACUs only produce 200 power, so that's not the reason for it. Does he has Vraz on the comm? No, he does not. Huh. Seems like he has a lot of power generation. How many T3 power gens does he have, though? 8 versus Lazy Avena sitting over here on 15. Very interesting. Also, as we look at the air game once more, I can see still just T1 air. Lazy Avena not bothered by the idea that his opponent has an air tech advantage on him. He has said, I will sit in my base and I will survive. Which honestly, he is doing quite a well damn good job of surviving in his base. I have to give that to him. It does look like he's building up a secondary position for another Duke here, and since that's a T2 shield, it's not too much to lose it. May possibly be seeing another Duke coming out, as he's going to try and pierce through the defenses that have been thrown up by his opponent. We have even more shields coming out in a secondary position for another Hovatham artillery piece. Both players just throwing everything into this game of artillery spam. Hemmed into his base's Highlander, this Novax has gotten so much value, killing almost 40,000 mass worth of units and structures. Let's go ahead and check. Is that... No, of course. Give me a T3 engineer, please. How much does this cost? This only costs 36,000, so this defense satellite has managed to kill off more mass than it's worth. 83 kills on it. Very dangerous little piece of tech flying around the sky, murdering everything. And we do have the Hovatham changing up its artillery targeting patterns. It is going to be throwing shots over here onto these mechs. It's already killed off 2 of them. There was no shielding over here, and Lazy Avena is going to pay for it with a slight decrease in his economy, but honestly, I don't know how much he cares about this decrease in his economy. We do have some very, very hopeful builds of T1 mass extractors up here by a SACU. I doubt they survive very long. But you know, gotta build where you can. This little fire base over here still holding up just fine, having no issues. And yes, we do have another spot for a Hovatham if he ever gets up the mass to build it. We have an anti-nuke built up with 3 anti-nuke missiles. And it might be the Duke targeting that. We can see 2 shields are down around it. If that goes down, that could be dangerous. He did have a nuke on the way earlier, and that nuke is completed as of just now and starting to build its first missile. And, oh, the artillery did manage to break through with the help of the defense satellite. I don't know which one killed that off, but either way, whoever killed it off, that was a very costly thing to lose. And that's going to be very painful. He's going to need to build that SMD right now. If it's not completed in the next about minute or so, he's going to lose to a nuke launch. Could be very dangerous for him. We'll have to keep an eye on that nuke's progress. I'm going to go ahead and swap to split screen, and I'm just going to give an overview of the base. We can see the nuke there has progress going on. Oh, Jesus, I'm hitting end and not home. So I'm not getting the split screen effect I wanted. We can see that over there. We're going to have to keep an eye on this for a little while, as there's not really much happening, but there are strat bombers coming in. Never mind, screw split screen. I'm bad at that. Oh, the strat bombers could have possibly, if he had a couple more, killed off the Novak Center and made his life a whole hell of a lot easier. Oh man, that wasn't nearly enough strat bombers. There's another strat bomber on the way, but he's a little late to the party. I'd like to see even more strat bombers being built. I think that might be your last chance here. Just throw everything into strat bombers and hope it works, because you're quickly getting outpaced in the economy game. There's a nuke on the way. He's killed off your SMD. The SMD is about to finish. What percentile is that nuke at? The nuke is about 25% complete. As the anti-nuke finishes, it's going to need heavy assistance to be able to stop this first nuke launch. We'll have to keep an eye on that as the players continue to throw shells back and forth. A second Duke artillery on the way. We do not have the same coming out. It looks like everything is being thrown towards keeping SMD up. I'm sure that with those strat bombers, he definitely saw the nuke launcher. Maybe he was even trying to snipe the nuke launcher, but there are so many shields in this area. Such a dangerous proposition. And this Novak's still getting value. We do have more support factories for building T3 units going down. Lazy Avena has decided he no longer needs those. And what he might need is just more Dukes. The nuke is approaching the halfway point at about 35-40% now. Let's go ahead and check on the SMD, see where that's at. It's nearing about 40%, and the SMD does build faster, so there's still a chance this SMD saves him for another minute or two, but he needs to start coming up with a strategy for winning this. I don't think you need this many scouts. I would throw a lot more into your bomber production now, if I were you. Bombers seem to be very much so more important. But also, you need to keep your mass up. You are currently stalling mass, and that's not what you want to be doing at this given point in time. Of course, he's stalling mass to build shields to keep his SMD alive, but the SMD is valueless without mass. It doesn't really build anything quick enough. Let's go ahead and check on Reclaim for the last time. We have over 100,000 for Highlander and over 60,000 for Lazy Avena. Reclaim, possibly the only thing keeping Highlander still in this game. He's a very dire situation as he's slowly being choked out, it feels. I do think that this SMD may finish in time, but let's go ahead and check once again on that nuke's progress. Oh, that's the anti-nuke. The nuke is over 90% now. The nuke is launching within the next probably 10 to 20 seconds, and this is only at 80%. He's throwing everything into it. I don't know if this is going to be enough.
Strategic launch.
Oh, we are going to have to slow down the game a little bit. I want to see what's going to happen here. We do have this anti-nuke. It is going up very quickly. Okay, maybe that's a little bit too slow. Let's go ahead and go to -2. That seems to be more reasonable. We have the nuke flying straight towards his opponent. The anti-nuke is still on its way. It's currently sitting at about 95%. It might not finish. I don't think it's going to finish, in fact. Oh, no. Devastation. He almost had it. He had an anti-nuke loaded, but it got killed off by the indirect fire. No, it fired, and it stopped the nuke. Oh my word, that finished just on the precipice. Just so close. It was just now starting its descent. It was about to kill off the base of Highlander, and that gives him a new lease on this life. Gives him more time to fight and to possibly win. This would be a comeback for the history books. If he can pull it off now, what is he going to do? He does have a nice amount of strats, but that's still not enough. You know your opponent has so many shields. You can't just strat bomb him right now. You need 30 to 40 strat bombs. Oh, this is a bad situation. Please, please don't send these strat bombs in. Build up more. Throw all of your mass now into building strat bombs. And making sure your SMD doesn't get sniped again, because that second nuke is going to come up real fast. And the strat bombers come in and they don't break the shields. That is very unfortunate, but maybe that will open up the Hovatham to get some real damage done. It has opened up a small area here. You have to rely on the inaccuracy, and it does manage to snipe exactly one shield, but I don't think another shot's going to land before a shield pops back on, and it does land, but now the shield's definitely going to pop back on, and you've gotten one shield for all of that investment of strats. And we do have Percival starting to march forward. The land game has kind of been abandoned by both players, but there was this large standing army of lazy Avenna, and I'm guessing he's decided, well, I have it, I may as well use it. It's getting strat bombed now, which is very painful. Death from above and all that. Where is that defense satellite? Has it crested 100 kills yet? Nope, still at 86. It's been firing on shields for a very long time. The second Duke is going to be finishing momentarily. And that's going to, of course, produce even more issues for trying to keep shields up around this SMD, which is about to be loaded. Let's go ahead and check on the nuke launcher. It's only at 20%, just now getting assisted again, so as long as he can keep shields around this SMD, I believe he can manage to hold against the nuclear threat. But a shield going down to artillery fire, he's gonna have to start building shields very quickly. May even be worth it to throw up some T2 shields just to get that now instead of later shield bonus. It's built in a quite awkward position, as only about 5 or 6 shields at max will ever be able to help this. This cliff here is blocking his buildability to make more shields. Probably would have been better to build the anti-nuke more centrally over here after it died the first time. Just build it right here. But then again, after the anti-nuke died the first time, he built it on top of the wreck, giving him half of the build instantly, and barely finished it, or barely finished the anti-nuke in time, so I guess I can't blame him. We have more shields going up over here, but I don't think that's the threat, my friend. I think you need to keep the anti-nuke safe. Shields are constantly down over here. There are 2 Dukes firing on you. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 shields covering this. Oh man, only 1 shield and it's at half health. Well, I guess there's another shield up, but that's not going to last very long. Another shield popping on just in time, but this is getting very precarious. The stars may align and allow him to snipe this anti-nuke, which is just now loaded once again. Speaking of which, the nuke is 50%. It's being produced exceptionally quickly. If this anti-nuke goes down, the game is over. So he definitely needs to keep that alive. We're going to go ahead and check around the other parts of the map. It does look like the Percivals were killed off somewhere. I guess they were killed off over here where this SACU is and reclaimed. Meaning that reclaim numbers are even higher. 86,000 reclaimed for Lazy Avena. I don't really see him reclaiming all that much, but he must be getting out of here with some engineers and reclaiming his own base as certain parts of it get targeted down. Looks like there's some artillery falling over here trying to hit this power field in the back, but that's not going to happen. This power and mass fabricator farm going on. And while we missed it, but the SMD has gone down, which means that this nuke is going to be firing any minute now. It's at 90%, and the SMD has gone down. He's rebuilding it, but there is no way. He would need an insane amount of build power henceforth unseen to manage to save this. Oh, I think that's game. In fact, I think that's game so much I'm gonna speed it up just so I can see this nuke launch, because not much is happening otherwise.
Strategic launch detected.
Where's the nuke going? It's going right here, and at the same time shields are falling because there's two dukes. This is so doomed. And yes, that's the end of this. There's no way the anti-nuke finishes in time. You would need very much so cheats to finish this in time. And here comes the nuke. It's going to land, and it's going to kill off the hopes and dreams of Team 1, who, despite having an advantage early by knocking out D-Good, always felt like they were on the back foot. And they almost made the comeback. They almost pushed their way all the way over here and just hemmed him into his base. But Lazy Avena eco-hoard and built more and managed to hold on to his stuff, and was UEF, so had a new Novak Center, meaning he wins. Thank you all for watching. If you want to support me financially, go check out Patreon, as I cannot put ads on my videos. If you would like to see more, subscribe. If you liked the video, liked it. If you disliked the video, dislike it. And I will see you in the next one.